my dear international friends out there. I'm so sorry, my YouTube is mostly in Polish language. But for those of you who are asking, what am I talking about continuously on that YouTube? So my latest video that I just did, that I always put it together, so just for you. And for those sometimes, maybe you can pass to someone, maybe it's interesting for someone, then I appreciate. And if you comment sometimes, I'm all happy because sure, I would like it to be also in English. But since it is not, so I will shortly tell you what is going on and why I'm so happy recently, because I had great workshops with a great women. And it happened through internet, and although it's not easy, it was possible. And it was all about power, female power, and how not to lose your personal power, where our energy goes during the daytime, what to pay attention, and so on. And another good news is, and this is my latest video about how the evil creates goodness. And this is more about dangers of artificial intelligence, but how it actually offers us a lot of goodness. And I have a lot of thoughts always and questions for my Polish people that gives me great insight and great reflections, great conclusions. So maybe you also can add to it. Let's see. So first, the great news is that another criminal was caught. And this happened in America, and this is an article in NBCWashington.com. It is about suspect that attempt to kidnap a young girl. And I'm very glad about it that the police is acting so precisely, because we hear those stories all over the world, and it's not usually go so well. The girl, the 9-year-old girl, was very courageous to run away from the car, and it happened in the light of the day. I'm not going to read you exactly the article because probably it is something like a copyrights here. So, but there was a man who got just in a day of light, caught a girl stepping out of the bus, and he just grabbed her and put it in the car. And thankfully, she was so conscious, so smart, so intelligent that she just ran away. We know that a lot of children are disappearing, especially in America, and in our Polish community, we have programs about it. Yvonne Shamsan, unfortunately, in most of the times in Polish language, she's talking about it a lot, and she talks about this crime and makes people aware of it. But anyone out there, if you are in this in the communities and you are having little groups, how to protect each other, that is always a good time to pay attention to those things. But thankfully, also to our artificial intelligence. And because in almost every country now we have cameras on the street, the guy was caught up, arrested, and they use also they have crisis negotiation team that always attempts to speak to those people, the terrorists and criminals, and they caught him by opening the doors using a robot and drone. So the drone was sent to the home, and then the robot opened doors. So let me stop for a second here. So see how much, due to this artificial intelligence technology we have right now, how quickly this can happen. And this is absolutely a good thing. However, there are dangers here, and I will talk about it in a moment, telling more about not my words, but Elon Musk. Most of the times he's warnings about what can happen. And also what was used here was chemical munitions. So the guy was just arrested, and this case successfully ended. But considering artificial intelligence, some people still don't see how it impacts our world. And the good thing is it helps to catch criminals, and I absolutely agree with that. What I'm worried about, and what I'm going to follow Elon Musk here, it is also a great danger that it will be stolen by criminals or hacked into. And he claims that this is worse than nuclear bomb, but I do not really agree with that, because we know that nuclear bomb would actually produce much more harm. And the radiation afterwards, even if that could kill millions of people, then the radiation afterwards would cause extinction probably, or big deformation due to radiation of the people, and a lot of disabilities. However, what I follow him here is that it is equally something bad, because we still somewhat control it, but it is very soon going to slip out of control because it's updating itself. It is enormously intelligent, which can help us. But the danger is also, like a lot of horror story already portrayed, can turn against us and perceive us as an intruder or parasite on the planet Earth, and then we won't be so strong. If any of you had ability to see the video, and please verify that information, this can be just a gossip, so verify me here too, but is that true? Somebody please send me a link about it, that the tests in American Army went wrong with the first robots, and they turned against and started to shoot to the people. If that is already confirmed, if that is the mainstream, let's say, information, please send me the link. I would like to see that, but it could be just a gossip, so please verify that information. But from my outer perspective, it's very easy for me to see some incident like that, and something to be cautious about. And Elon Musk says that we need more regulation about AI, and we need to slow down the whole process. Instead, he says that not many people listen to him, or maybe none. In one of the interviews, he said something like that. However, he gave me an impression like he was a little bit helpless in that, because if those people who actually have impact on it cannot listen to him, and other people just follow the collective, it's very easy to control the crowd. It's so much easier to control the crowd. Social psychology confirms that. 20 years ago already were research about it. Mr. Zimbardo, Mr. Rush, I studied that big book while studying my university. So it's very easy to influence the crowd rather than single person. And there is no regulations, not enough regulations. Instead, we tend to speed up, the technology speeds up. It comes very quickly, also with other inventions, considering medicine. Some of you know what I'm talking about. He also says something I discovered already years ago, when it makes us just stupid, where the artificial intelligence is it's like something that exchange our process of thinking, because we rely on it too much. And I had a number of experiences in this matter when I tried to use a regular map, and everybody believed more than the navigation system in Google or whatever they had will lead them faster. And it is efficient. I'm not saying it is not, but also in some cases it makes people thoughtless, not thinking about, not being aware about their environment. And few times it happened to me when I was within the groups in different countries, that people get lost using this navigation, but they didn't believe me with my old-fashioned map that I love to read. And only then they turned to me to lead them. In another case, when simply something was very close by and you could just see around by looking at your environment and see the direction. People chose to use the navigation, so they were going in circles before they caught the destination, before they arrived at the destination. So it makes us just stupid and not thinking, and it makes us dependent on something else. We tend to stop asking questions. We tend to stop verify information given by media, given by AI. In these times, Polish people, especially Polish people, they gather in the groups. And I love to always support that, because in the group you are stronger, you can choose, you can survive better. However, there are also dangers of that. And in these times when people are bombarded with the information, they don't know quite what is true, what is not true. It's hard to verify. Sometimes the goodness turns into evil, and evil into goodness. And you cannot really rely on a simple information. You have to verify it and see what source it came from. And you don't really have time for it because it's coming more and more. So you just simply let it go eventually. It's very hard to verify all that. And I'm not saying to choose and pick, and some of the people could criticize me for it, because I always suggest to stay in the middle ground, just stay in the middle before you make any conclusion, any decision, to watch the both sides. And the only person you follow yourself, your own feelings, and follow the idea, does that support me and my environment, people within my circle? Does that add something good to me and to people I love or not? So the same thing can be good for someone else, but it doesn't serve you. So if it's not good for me, I'm not choosing to do that. If it's good for other people, I let them do it. That's how I do it, how I navigate in these times among so many misinformation. And if something is so good and everybody do that, it doesn't mean it's going to be good for me or for you. So please follow yourself first before you draw any conclusion without a judgment. What people choose, that's their own business. So I'm always sticking to the middle ground and suggesting people to think about themselves first before they choose any of the sides, because what I'm observing now, none of the sides are pure. There are always people, and the first time I experienced it was my post-diploma studies, when we were divided into groups, and in my group you always practice this simulation experiment, like would you survive a catastrophe, what kind of tools would you pick, where the group wants to go, how would you cooperate, and I totally didn't agree with the group I was in, and I would choose something completely else. What I learned later on from this test, from the instructor of that test, was that the group wouldn't survive. I would survive, but barely. And of course, other groups will survive because they chose another ways. And that made me think, because seriously, within a group, we are stronger, we can survive better, we can have a better support, we have better quality of life. At the same time, if this is a wrong group, or there are criminals in the group, or people who are just wrong and they pressurize, your chances of survival are less and less. So here's something to think about, because Polish communities are now picking group, they are creating the groups. Me, myself, I created the Akasha virtual at this moment group, because we are living in different countries. And what I want to make sure that this, the information, the knowledge, the way of helping human being on a different level of growth, that is accessible for everyone. So that's the mission of that group. But in any of the group, we need to verify each other, one another, and see and get to know each other and build up the trust, and not have a one person leader. probably exchange the roles a little bit more. So this is something we talk about it in Polish language at this time, and inviting, of course, a lot of guests about it to share their own experience, their ideas, how they do it, how these groups are functioning. Because of everything what's happening now, I always suggest to develop those groups and be in one or create one or check or be a member of others and see how it functions and observe them before you decide. You have a certain period of time when you can observe, when you can be involved, when you can commit, but also be very, very careful when you do, because a lot of the groups, as I observed, like for example, spiritual groups, are falling apart pretty quickly. Those communities, when people wanted to be in a good community, they are falling apart. There is a lot of conflict going on. And what I observed is people are losing their borders, their privacy, and it always turns against them at the end, because we need to have integrity and sustain our individuality within also such group. It cannot be without losing our freedom, our rights, and be pressurized and be under the leader that creates everything for us. So we need to be active participants in those groups. Otherwise, it doesn't make sense. Some of you told me that made a big mistake because they were not part of any group, and that made their life extremely hard, or they didn't achieve what they wanted because they didn't belong to the group. I want to assure you that I was in the different groups during the time, and it's extremely hard to pick up the group. It's like a friendship, it's like a relationship. It is also, I would say at this point in my life, it is a grace to be surrounded by the people that are really cooperating with you regarding their limitations. They are there for you. They are not going to stop. They're not going to just leave at a certain point. And it is more grace. I was creating and I was participating in different groups and in different networking along the years, and in the Netherlands and here, and I was checking a lot. And I was also working with some of these groups, seeing what happened, that the leader was coming and asking why the group fell apart or what was wrong, how to stop it. There were a lot of different issues with that. But I can assure you about one thing: you didn't make any mistake. You learn from maybe choosing the path because that was your phase in life, that you wanted to do something by yourself, or your specific type of work didn't require that. You didn't need to be a membership, but if you would join groups at that particular time in your life, it didn't mean that would help you. I know many groups that it didn't help at all, and it was a lot of wasting time. But for me, it was a very good learning process, how it works, how it really works, what are the dangers of it, what are the pros and cons. And till now, I'm saying the same thing as always: stay in the middle ground. I'm not saying join the group is perfect, or I'm not saying do not join the group, it's terrible. There are plus and cons to every side of the story. It always depends on a certain conditions. Every example is a unique individual. So that's just a warning. Another thing that considering AI, that I also think that is a big chance that someone's gonna hack into it, someone's gonna steal it. It's not only just makes us more stupid, but there are a lot of dangers that we do need to slow down. And some of you claim that, well, just leave it, just do not use internet, just leave the corporation world, do not work. Anybody who is giving you those advices, I do not think it's even appropriate, because it's like a committing social or life or a suicide, financial suicide for a lot of people, that they cannot simply leave their jobs. And I never would suggest anyone to burn the bridge, especially if someone works in a corporation Amazon is not really a corporation because actually it was a company, but the corporations are usually those, from the definition, those who are processing the companies under them like a pyramid more. But a lot of people, we do say, and I used to say that too, that corporations, just big companies, it's not exactly that definition. But any one of you who is working and thinking about environment, thinking about how to assist, and you cannot just leave, you cannot just follow that advices of your coach, maybe, I don't know, mentor. Get rid of the internet, because the internet, again, the evil that creates the goodness. Because of the internet, I met a lot of Polish people, a lot of great people all over the world. I could bring my life to another level. I could do less work, especially when I experienced burnout, that I could not even sit in front of a computer. So it helps us, and I always say, stay in the middle and choose the tools that you currently have, because there is also another saying, there are always like two sides, and we are always a little bit right, a little bit wrong. It always depends what serves us, what serves the environment around us. So there are also people that say, okay, I cannot do that, there's nothing I can do, so I do nothing. It's far more better to do anything, something, than do nothing. That's what I would say. And I always start with the tools I have, in the place I live, and the access I have. Because of course I cannot achieve impossible. I cannot go somewhere I want to be, but I cannot get there. So I'm starting on the ground that I am with the tools I currently have, and then you can slowly expand. And the same as with the corporation, if you do want to change something, you're probably not going to reach the boss that will hear you, or someone who is in a charge, or someone who's doing those regulation. You probably have another workers, but you can always do something. You can always make this little step. It takes enormous sometimes creativity from you, because what, for example, in a corporation work, what can you do? You can just talk to your colleagues, see what they're thinking about, collect, verify people, see who resonates with you, who thinks similar. Can you create a group? Can you create a society from it? Can you influence other group? Can you find similar minded people that doing the same projects that you are interested in? Can you go a little bit higher so someone else could influence, have an influence, or give you that appointment? You take a step by step to try to attempt it. And this is not easy work, absolutely not. But it's always better, in my opinion, of course, to do something than just sit and wait and see, okay, it's helpless, it went too far, there is nothing we can do. There is always something we can do. So this is more or less, in a very, very, very nutshell, what I'm talking about, what's happening on the Polish side of this channel. But if you do have some insights for me, something you'd like to share, I'm inviting you to do so. Not only in emails to me. I'm so sorry if I don't respond straight away. That is exactly because of so many things are happening right now. But if you can share also under this video in the comments, I would greatly, greatly appreciate that. I hope you are well, healthy out there. And I'm looking forward to hearing from you sometimes, from time to time, because it seems like the time sped up and we're just busy and busy and more busy. So my wish is that we do have more time for our friends, for our environment, and just enjoy the quality of life. Have a great day out there, whatever you are. Bye-bye for now.